All right, we are live for a Saturday edition of just a check-in hangout. Hope everyone's doing well. It's been a minute since I've done a Saturday live stream, literally a couple years. But the reason I wanted to connect today, for those who are available to connect, of course, if you're watching the replay, you're definitely going to want to see some of the things I'm going to put forward to you guys as to how everything we're experiencing is right on time for the grand finale. And I'm going to get into that more. And so, anyway, I wanted to talk today just because I got a lot of things on my mind all last night. Actually, I was going to do something last night, but just couldn't get to it in time. But I have a lot of things that was brought to my attention, and I had a chance to check in with a lot of Twitter spaces and things like that. And there's a lot of panic. There's a lot of concern, and it's good. It's arguably it's a good reason why. And so it's my personal opinion. Of course, I'm sure you guys can all agree with me that we are on a cusp of some type of systemic event. But then again, none of this is by accident. Like I've always said in the past, everything is being strategically planned uh, to move towards a overarching objective for the entire monetary system, and it has everything to do with the reset. And I'm going to point to you as to how I believe that is the case. But anyway, I have a bunch of things that crossed my mind in the follow up to yesterday, and then more importantly, how it looks like the Treasury, i.e., Janet Yellen, got together with all the regulators. And so, definitely, probably like right now, today, if not for sure, all through the night last night, they were gathering, whether in person or Zoom or whatever, but trying to talk and to work their way through this current unfolding of this event, just because the current dominoes are falling, and it just will not be with the SVB bank. And also, I want to talk to you about the repercussions that will follow come this Monday, I believe, as it's going to result in a lot of possible layoffs and things like that. And so we'll go along with it. But also, I want to definitely find out what's on your radar and what have you been able to filter through all this from listening to other commentators, or just perhaps you might have been impacted directly by this one particular bank. So for those who are tuned in, hit the thumbs up button if you haven't already. I have a lot of headlines. I want to try to rant through them as fast as I can, get to the grand finale of what I think this all is leading us to, right in time for summer, and we'll go from there. But anyway, hope everyone's doing well. Let me just jump right in. And so, just trying something a little different on my end here, give a little drama. And so, the fuse has been lit. So, as you guys can see right here, I got a little fuse that's being lit, and then at the end of that fuse is the global monetary system, in a sense. And so, how it all comes out, who knows? But it's more so not like this upcoming week. Will the financial regulators, the bankers, the cartel, whoever, whatever we want to call them, will they allow this to continue on? Because literally at the stroke of a couple keys on the keyboard, Jerome Powell and the Treasury can literally come together and put together some type of special relief package, or do something on the back end that the public may not know about until after the fact, and calm things down. Or do they deliberately want this current pandemonium to unfold so that it trickles into the financial economy? You know what I'm saying? So it goes two ways. This is what they want, or this is what they're trying to get ahead of in reference to not letting it get away from them. So get your thoughts on that. But anyway, okay, so let me jump right in, man. So a lot of things caught my attention, and let me just do my best to try to let me show this real quick. Okay, so I wanted to let me reposition myself here if I can. So I take myself over here. Yeah, okay, this is better. Okay, so here's a headline from yesterday. So a lot of the things here is as a result of yesterday, things that came across my radar after me and Mario got it done streaming, and it looks like yeah, Litecoin Lisa, how you doing? It says get out of stable coins. Yeah, I got a little some thoughts on that as well. So, but definitely, something's going down, and it's just a matter of whether or not this is what they want, or this is just something that's getting a little bit ahead of them. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on that. But all right, so let me just jump through some things here. So as a result of yesterday, this came out from Zero Hedge yesterday, and it was released in the evening. So after the markets close and the alarm bells start going across Wall Street. So it says, worse since Lehman, banks break the world again, referring to, of course, what happened in 2008. And so here's just interesting here, this headline. It says, last week we detailed Bank of America's Michael Hartnett's warning that, quote, the Fed will tighten until something breaks. Something just broke, according to them. And one thing I want to just point out here is just all the images here, the maps, I'm sorry, the graphics rather. just showing what's currently going on right now. So here we have just this is just SBV crashed 65% in the pre-market before being halted. Of course, we see just that falling off a cliff. Then we have more banks. So if I can click it here, we got Pac West Bank, we got Western Alliance Bancorp, we got First Republic Bank, we got Signature Bank. And so this is literally within the last couple days. Shoot, yeah, not looking healthy at all. Something definitely come Monday morning, we'll find out if the panic ensues or if there is some type of something done between now and tomorrow night. So here's just more information here, more stuff falling off the cliff. And it's just yeah, not looking good to be invested in banks. And then on the flip side of that, here's a here's a propaganda piece. No, that's not this one here. Let me find it here. I'm behind myself. So here's a little propaganda piece that came out today. It says, buy the dip in banks as the Silicon Valley bank crisis is unlikely to spread, Goldman Sachs says. I'm not sure if I would want to take Goldman Sachs advice at this current moment, given the fact that they too will fall into the chain of dominoes as they fall down at some point. Anyway, a couple more things here. Let me just go through some things here. So here's something that Edward Dowd posted yesterday in reference to the potential side effects or the consequences of SVB going belly up or being halted or being seized into government hands. So I'm assuming some of you might have seen this, some of you might have not. I'll thumb through it real quickly, but it just talks about more of the impact and how thousands of startup companies pretty much it's the startup, it's the who's bank for startups and the tech sector. And so literally I saw and I couldn't find the image, but it looks like 97% of depositors are above the $250,000 FDIC threshold, meaning that they fall into the category of the business sector, which the FDIC as well as the other banks will have to come together and figure out how they either will or will not make those entities whole and who's going to bite the bullet on that. And it's a matter of will it be the bail in initiated or, like I said before, will there be some type of special bail out process, which it's unlikely, of course. But real quick here, it says SVB was not just a dominant player in the tech, but were highly integrated in some non-traditional ways. A few things we'll see in the coming days and weeks. And so Edward Dow got this from some source. He's not even sure where it came from, but these things make sense to me. So I thought I was worth bringing to you. But it says one, SVB was incredibly integrated into the lives of many founders, not just their startup bankers and lenders, but also provided personal mortgages and other financial services. It says two, any uninsured balances at SVB, those above 250,000 are in jeopardy. FDIC plans to pay them out as it sells the assets of SVB. Lots of startups exclusively banked with SVB as this was a covenant for their debt. So in order to get loans from them, you had to also bank with them. It says now that they may not be able to make payroll next week. It says expect mass layoffs later today, Monday at the latest. Okay, so that's with SVB. And then for the 97% of the depositors that are above that $250,000 threshold, a lot of those happen to be a lot of big money players, as far as tech companies and the like, hedge funds or whatever, I'm sure. And so payroll, how will they make payroll for the months ahead or weeks ahead or whatever? We're going to find out. So layoffs could be a concern as well. And to keep it moving here, a couple of things that caught my attention. Here's something that not somebody shared this in a telegram, but it says here, Harry and Meghan stand to lose millions in the collapse of SVB Bank. Sources tell ISN the couple sets up accounts following the advice of friends in Silicon Valley. So this is major blow, said one source. They had all of Harry's money there. So not only has Harry been outcast from the crown, but also if his money's trapped, he may have to call the king and say, hey, daddy, wire me a couple. But that's just a little side joke there. Okay, keep it moving. So here's something that was so this I got just two sources here where this here shows real life bank runs where people literally are standing outside SVB Bank, and apparently this was in near Boston area, and so you see a nice little line forming of people literally trying to get money out. Now the question is whether they're trying to withdraw and close out their accounts or they're just trying to get as much as they can get out. But it's good to say with that length of that line there, as we see is kind of wrapped around the corner a little bit there, there's not enough cash in the vaults to make everybody there whole, whether they want it all or more than likely just a little. So there's going to be some issues come this Monday morning when the banks open up, whether it be SVB or what other banks that I just mentioned that are on the cusp of trust being eroded. So we'll find out how that plays out. And then here's another bank here. I'm sorry, this one here is from Lawrence Lepard, but this is in the Boston area. That other one, I believe, is in the California area. So, but SVB, everybody trying to get their funds out. Yeah, not too surprising. And then to find out, before the collapse of SVB Bank, the CEO sold 3.5 million of stock within the last 2 weeks. So obviously, somebody knew what was coming. So he had a chance to jump ship ahead of times on top of all the other major high net worth individuals that got inside information. It's good to say that their money is not trapped in the system. It's just the people who did not have that inside information. So yeah. So here's a little update that came out today after this afternoon. It says Silicon Valley Bank staff offered 45 days of work at 1.5 times salary by FDIC. So the FDIC is basically paying salaries now for this bank. And so after this 45 days, it looks like you're probably out of a job. And apparently there's, it says 8,500 that work there, some remote, some actually in the offices. But so the FDIC now is making payroll for a failed bank. And so the question is, who's going to make FDIC whole when they go belly up? Just something, well, we should all be thinking about. Okay, here, just trying to share with you things that caught my attention after we got done live streaming. And so Wells Fargo, it looks like Wells Fargo had some computer issues, or was it a intended glitch? Mind you, I'm gonna share with you my thoughts on this in a minute, but we're in the right territory. The grounds are ripe for some type of cyber. Just keep that in mind. Pretty soon, if things get out of hand, or if things remain on course, either way, however they want to play this, because believe me, this whole transition, they're still in control. It's just, I don't think one bit the SVB going under. As we saw, the CEO was able to get out ahead of time, so they knew exactly which one was going to bite the dust first. It's just more so the speed at which this will accelerate, or will it be guided towards some type of reset? We'll talk about that. Wells Fargo warns of customers of incorrect balances or missing transactions. So imagine if you are hearing about all this stuff on the news, you're hearing that, hey, they have SVB bank queues, people trying to get their money out the bank, and you're like, okay, let me see what's going on, and see you log on, and Wells Fargo says zero, or it says, negative, or something like that. Think about the amount of panic that hit those people at Wells Fargo. And Wells Fargo, they've had issues in the past. They are a criminal institution. All these people are all in bed with the same criminal entities. But imagine the amount of panic that probably hit people at that moment when they were like, is it happening to me now? So that type of thing. So I anticipate more of that, but on a much greater scale in the days ahead, just because, as I'm about to point to in a moment, things are lining up just in time for, as I called it earlier, the grand finale. Okay, so let me get a couple more articles here. They're just sharing headlines here, and then I'm curious to get your thoughts on whatever else you guys might have come across throughout the day here. And as I mentioned here, Goldman Sachs has buy the dip on the banks, taking a little bit of a little crater off the cliff. And so here's another little thing that also was put out there. So the odds of a rate cut were sped up literally within a few hours. So here you have from Zero Hedge, this is like the futures models that the Fed will either the amount of rate hikes or cuts in the future. And this is another tool they use to be able to bet and hedge on all types of insider trading and gambling and all types of stuff that happens on Wall Street. But it says March 9th, we had a nice little curvature. And then literally March 10th, it was a sharp cutoff, referencing that they anticipate a rate cut a lot sooner than they did prior to SVB Bank going belly up. So at the very peak, they had it this summer, July. Fed funds rate being above 5.5. And so literally this July at that same time, they see a slight coming down of interest rates. So as you can see, the complete drop off here, rather than here, it was a smooth, progressive cutting of rates or slowing down of raising height or raising rates to where now it's going to come down a lot sooner. And of course, this is our projection. This is a model, so there's no telling how it's going to play out. But it never works out the way that they plan, just because they're incompetent or they're deliberately trying to cause as much pandemonium as possible. So at this point, trust in the regulators is not something that does anyone any good. All right, so real quick here, I forgot to actually bring up the main article that I wanted to touch on, just because I think this is very important. If I can grab it real quick, bear with me. And also definitely want to hear from you guys, so feel free to share with me your thoughts on all of this. Copy link address. Give me 1 second here. I had an article up here, but then I took it away. So here, this came out yesterday. I'm everywhere with these articles, but believe me, trust me, it's leading to somewhere. It's leading to somewhere. So here, real quick, let me share this with you. So this is as of yesterday. So this came out from the Treasury as things were unfolding. It says, read out, Secretary of Treasury Janet Yellen convenes financial regulators. And so when you got all this pandemonium, of course, you got to get on a hub and call everybody, and we got to talk this stuff through, or trying to plan for the steps ahead as this stuff continues to progress. Either one, we'll find out. So real quick, says Secretary Janet Yellen convened leaders from the Federal Reserve, the FDIC, and Office of Comptroller of the Currency to discuss the developments around SVB. Secretary Yellen expressed full confidence in banking regulators to take appropriate actions in response, and noted that the banking system remains resilient and regulators have effective tools to address this type of event. And so, once again, whenever they tell you everything is strong and everything is okay, that's when you probably want to be a little cautious as to, really, do I really want to take the advice of people who are deliberately trying to reset the system? But yet, we'll find out. Like I said, when I first started, they're probably meeting right now, trying to talk this stuff through. But let me, real quick here, I want to share with you a video clip that I came across. I'm not sure what movie it's from, but I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts on this. So let me know if this movie clip sounds familiar. I might get a copy strike. I don't know, whatever. But so just listen to this clip, because when I saw this, somebody shared this on Twitter. I'm like, I never saw that movie, I don't think, but that's the type of narrative that might be taking place either on Zoom calls amongst board members or in Wall Street right now, as it trickles right into Wall Street, or we'll find out. But as I'm speaking, I got a gigantic spider coming down above my head. Wow. Forgive me. Just committed murder on air. Wow. Anyway, man, I was a big boy. Okay. I'm everywhere. So take a listen to this, and then let me know where this is from if you guys know.
1929. It'll get worse now because it'll go faster. Money markets will dry up around the world by the end of the week. ATMs will stop spitting bills. Federal deposit insurance will collapse. Banks will close. Mobs panic. It's going to be the end of the world, Bill.
So does anyone know where that's from? It's definitely Wall Street 2. Okay, so all right, so that's just the little things that happen in reference to SVB. And so, in my personal opinion, a fuse was lit, but was a fuse lit intentionally? Is my point, because I think this is heading towards something that is strategically being done behind the scenes to usher in a lot of the narrative for what they need to take place because of the large amounts of debts, as well as the derivatives and all the other basically there's no genuine growth anymore in the system. So they are in need of some type of event. We know this is just what happens in the midst of debt coming to an end. But let me just share a couple more things here. So, like Lisa mentioned earlier, uh, how the SVB and then we got USDC. And so the crypto market will not go unscathed one bit in reference to being impacted by the Silvergate. I'm sorry, Silvergate as well. But scrutiny falls on 435 billion USDC stablecoin cash reserves at failed Silicon Valley Bank. So USDC had funds parked in SVB. So we'll find out. I think it was a little bit over 3 point something or so billion, and they're one of the people that's on the hook for not being able to get those funds back unless the FDIC and the government decide to do so. But it's my suspicion that the government wouldn't mind seeing the crypto sector go through some pain as well. So it's my assumption that they will not be providing any type of relief or any type of help for any type of stable coins, because stable coins is competitions to the CBDC. And that's what this is all about. This is heading towards the CBDC. And that's why this contagion, if they allow this to pick up full and go full speed, we'll have the CBDC narrative a lot faster. But if they decide to slowly but surely navigate this, then it gives them time to do things on a regulatory end, because that's also a problem. But I got an article about that as well. So time will tell. But the crypto market will definitely be impacted just because it's a risk on asset, just like everything else that is intertwined and dependent upon basically the financial system going belly up. Because confidence will go from one class into another, while ultimately speaking, the smart money, I think, in my personal opinion, has already gotten into tangible things, i.e., of course, gold, silver, and everything in between. Everything real, stuff that you can feel. Okay, let me keep it moving. All right, here. And it's not good that Coinbase halts conversion feature between USD and USDC as well. So more concerns there. All right, so what is this all about here? I think, and it's my suspicion, I'm gonna share with you why I believe that is, that we are right here in March because the CBDC interoperability Swift mechanism, it's time to start rolling that stuff out. And so let me share some articles with you here. And before I get there, I shared this yesterday in the community page here. But here's a video I did last year, right after it took place. And so around this time frame here, this was at the end of 2021, we had, I think it was 3, if I'm not mistaken, um, central bank, as they call it, war game exercises, in which the central banks were trying to run exercises on how to prevent a financial systemic event from completely unfolding. And they had everything strategically done in reference to what they wanted to accomplish with this exercise. And so I talked about this because this was presented at the time. I came across this from Michael Yeadon, and I actually got a strike on his video. But anyway, so here is the actual, as it's called here, war game. And so, in my personal opinion, they will not let this get out of control because they don't want to lose control of the overarching narrative of this reset or transferring us out of this old legacy system into the CBDC realm. And so this goes back to that time point here. Exclusive IMF 10 countries simulate cyber attack on global financial system. So I will anticipate, if things are genuinely getting out of hand to where they are not able to control the narrative and keep things hunky dory for themselves, as far as the American populace not losing quote unquote confidence in them, there will be a cyber event. And a cyber event might come if they lose control, or it may not come if they're able to control this uninterrupted, is my point. And so, just for those who may not be familiar with this, this took place in December of last 2021. And I'm gonna read it. It says, on Thursday, Israel led on Thursday a 10-country simulation of a major cyber attack on a global financial system in an attempt to increase cooperation and that could help to minimize any potential damage to financial markets and the banks. So, mind you, the entire government and the banking cabal is all protecting the commercial banks at the end of the day. So, having a number 16 bank go belly up, SBV, is chump change in comparison to if it will happen to fall into, let me share with you real quick. If it happened to fall up the chain and impact some of these banks up here, so these are the largest banks in the US. And so we know where they are. Bank of America, Citibank, we got JP Morgan Chase, 3.2 trillion under management. Wells Fargo, 1.72. So I'd imagine they would not want these banks here to have the type of meltdown the SBV had. So these are some contingency plans, I believe, that they'll have in place, and it will probably be a cyber attack. So keep that on in mind. But give an idea who's all cooperating in this. Let me give you the whole list. So participants in the initiative called the Collective Strength included Treasury officials from Israel, the United States, United Kingdom, UAE, Australia, Switzerland, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, Thailand, as well as representatives from the IMF, the World Bank, and the BIS. So this happened a year and a half ago. It's good to say that this exercise, they accomplished some things that probably left them feeling confident that they could pull off some type of event in worst case scenario if they needed to, if things got out of hand. So here we are today. The fuse is lit, SBV number 16, going belly up, might be 15, 14, 13. But before it gets to the top, there's something else that you guys might want to pay attention to. And so here we have the SWIFT. This is something that is happening a lot sooner than we would ever hear about from the mainstream media. We'd never hear about this from the mainstream media. But to give you an idea what's going on here, SWIFT and ISO 20022, the impact on payments explained. So this came out last month. But isn't it interesting? Just look at the timing of this. After numerous delays, SWIFT will begin the migration of its systems onto the new ISO 20022 standard on March 20th. So that is literally a week and a half from now. So they plan on, according to this information here, hitting the switch and cutting on the SWIFT ISO 2022 with all those blockchain network companies that we all talk or people talk about a lot. And so SWIFT is basically they're switching the methodology into which they do the interoperability and cross-border payments. And so it's more information here if you guys want to read through it, but it's all concerning the CBDC model. And the reason I say that is the next article I have here. SWIFT cross-border CBDC solution to progress to beta. And so this was 2 days ago. So the SWIFT now CBDC model, it's ready to go into beta format. So how convenient is as we're experiencing the banks start to have issues, confidence in the banks starting to be eroded. At the same time, they're rolling out the SWIFT beta for the cross-border CBDC model. And of course, the retail side that the Federal Reserve and Treasuries have already completed, in my opinion, will follow after the banking model comes down. But mind you, it's all about securing their own networks first so they can remain in operation while they make it look like, the world's coming apart at the seams. People's lost all their money. We need to make sure everybody's made whole. Oh, how do we do that? Oh, we need to come out with the Fed coin, digital dollar, whatever it's going to be called. And of course, the UK and all the other governments is working on it too. They'll be able to roll out their retail cryptocurrencies. And then as they're rolled out country by country as an event, as a result of the fallout of this banking situation, as they're guiding it down, on the back end, they have already secured the networks for themselves to be able to continue to do things amongst themselves and governments and everything like that seamlessly while they're making this all the pandemonium to be in the streets amongst the retail investors who got trapped in the banks and no cash ATMs, all that stuff. But then the solution to their problem they created is already ready in a sense. And it starts next week and a half. So is it coincidence? I don't believe in coincidences in the midst of a planned strategic reset, but we have the first bank go down and then more to follow. At the same time, the CBDC cross-border system is being rolled out in its beta format. Okay. So we will see how things unfold, but I thought that was worth mentioning. Now, back to the home front here. Here is some interesting information here. Government gnome vetoes attack on economic freedom. And so we have the first governor, and this is interesting that I remember saying, was it maybe 2-3 years ago, that CBDCs could not be rolled out or even really talked about amongst the Federal Reserve in a positive light, just because they don't have the regulatory clarity or it's not legal for them to be able to issue a new rebranded form of currency until they change the UCC code and all the other, legal documentations needed to actually bring about a new form of currency. Okay, and this is where that plays into hand, because it's my suspicion that the states are already being presented with the ongoing changes to the UCC code. So if you go to UCC code, I think it's like I forgot. I used to look at it. It's like 152 subsection something. It tells you the definition of money in reference to how all states are signed on to the UCC code, making it a basically international standard for the most part. Okay, so this is what's interesting, because I think by her vetoing this bill, it brings it to light that more states probably also have a bill similar on deck. And so it says here, yesterday, Governor Christie Nome vetoed House Bill 1193. Oops, you guys can see. Let me make it bigger. And then once I get done with this little rant here, I'll open the phone lines and get your thoughts on things. Let me move myself out of the way. Forgive me. Let me move myself out of the way. Okay, real quick here. I'll read through this here because this is very telling, because mind you, everything is taking place for that grand finale, as I'm just trying to describe. Okay, House Bill 1139, which would infringe upon freedom in digital currency. You can find Governor Newsom's veto letter here. This quote, it says HB 1193 adopts a definition of money to specifically exclude cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin as well as other digital assets. At the same time, these UCC revisions include central bank digital currencies as money. So, House Bill 1193 was brought before her, and like always, all these bills and pieces of legislation are handed to these representatives, these congressmen and congresswomen, by special interests as well as the banking cartel, to bring forth as proposals to become law. So whoever puts this forth, it was obviously came from Wall Street or DC. Anyway, and so the bill, when she summarizes it up, it says it excludes the mention of anything in an alternative sense that's not controlled centrally by the government. So mentioning any digital assets in general was strategically removed and not mentioned. And her point is that if it's not included, that means in the future it'll never have a chance of being adopted as a legal form of payment that can be used in commerce. And so what she's saying is what was in there was the talk of a central bank digital currency. And so as of right now, I can look it up, but for sake of time, I won't. In the UCC code under money, it says United States currency is, silver and gold coinage only. And then it has in parentheses, and this is the newest edition, was put in 1913 when the Federal Reserve was created, and also includes Federal Reserve notes and other liabilities in brackets. And so that was the last time a major change to our currency was put into the UCC code, and that's when the Federal Reserve came into existence. So now the UCC update or revision, she's saying is that it says United States gold and silver coinage, brackets, Federal Reserve notes, and central bank digital currencies exclusively. And that framework there will be more than enough that if all 50 states, and it's just me off the top of my head, I don't know this for sure, but if South Dakota was presented with the same information, it's good to say that every other state is being presented with this as well. So if all the states were to just sign on, we wouldn't know anything about it unless, somebody brings it to the forefront. But then again, when it goes to the floor in Congress and then something happens and they need the authority, all the states, according to the way this is played out, would have already signed on to it, the revisions to the UCC code, making it easier for Congress to perhaps say it's a part of the UCC code. It's been adopted by all 50 states or whatever. So now we can move forward with this and make it a federal, national, adoption, because at times are warranted for change. We need this because people are hurting, right? You see what I'm saying? So anyway, that's just a long-winded way of saying that they are working on the wording for revising the UCC code so that when things crumble, CBDCs will be available for retail usage amongst, who are the primary issuer, at the same time that the SWIFT system is set to begin its operations in the next week and a half. So my final submission to you guys is that SVB is just phase one of what they want to occur, because they already got plans for the remaining steps on how to execute this grand heist, which is being done deliberately. And so I rest my case. I think I presented enough information to get you guys to, somewhat, research for yourself, think for yourself. And of course, it's just one man opinion. But anyway, enough of me ranting. I do want to talk to you guys. So I'm sure I could have missed the ball somewhere. I'm just a man with opinion. I don't know everything, but I just know enough to put together some thoughts. Anyway, if you haven't, hit the thumbs up button, show your support for the channel, and then let's talk, man. Let's. I am available to talk. This is Saturday. This is my first time doing this in a while. But if anybody got thoughts, ideas, or wanted to debunk anything I said as a potential hypothesis for what's going on out here, feel free to let me know. I can be 100% wrong. I don't mind. That's how I learn. So give me a call. I want to hear from you guys. Or if you got thoughts, ideas, suggestions, put out in the chat and we can make it work. So, but I just wanted to come together and see what we can put together tonight and try to filter through some of the noise because the noise is going to get louder. Come Monday morning, the noise is going to get a lot louder. Okay, let me see if I can do this right. Let me see if I can get you on here. Give me 1 second here. I got somebody. All right. Hello, call. What's your name? Where you calling from? Steve, FEMA Region 9. Give me some thoughts, man. I know you got something good. What's up?
I know you're right on point. You're right on point. I'm right out here in California, and I can tell you that the people down in Silicon Valley are pooping their pants right now.
Yeah.
And all of them are concerned.
Yeah.
The guy, I can't mention. Yeah, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, no, let's not mention nothing personal. No names. Give me something in general.
I'm not gonna mention.
Okay.
But I can tell you that I've been retired law enforcement, etc. And that's what I was doing down in Silicon Valley, etc.
Yeah.
They're pooping their pants right now, and yeah, they're scared.
Yeah.
Some of them you would think that they were in on it or whatever, but a lot of them are pooping their pants right now, going, "Oh, what's going on?" Because a lot of it comes down to they don't know how they're going to make their payrolls, and a lot of these payroll companies are associated with that bank.
Right. Right.
Some of the payroll companies are associated with that bank. That means checks are going to go out for whoever it is. Like I said, I'm not going to mention any companies.
Right.
But they're worried about it, and I would just put it this way: the best way I can sum it up is I sent you that a podcast from All in One or something, and it says basically it's worse than you think.
Mm-hmm.
It basically Silicon Valley, it's worse than you think.
Yeah.
Do you have that there?
Give me 1 second here. Let me pull up my email. Give me 1 second. But no, keep giving it. So just as always, give me the summary of all that, and of course I'll pass it on.
Yeah, it's real, and I would say this: it's a long podcast. It's an hour and a half podcast, but they break it down in detail.
Yeah,
and just from working down in that area, it's true. I would say that.
Yeah.
What they're saying on that podcast is true, and it's coming from a Silicon Valley perspective.
Yeah, you talk about wealth. You talk about the Wealthion.
No. It's a video I sent you earlier. It was labeled Silicon Valley Bank.
Okay. Cold and dark. Left out cold in the dark. Let me. Worse than you. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
The one that says worse than you think.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that one. That's a must listen to for everybody. So if you could throw that in there, I put the Peter Schiff one in there also.
Yeah.
But that one is the one that people need to listen to. That's boots on the ground information right there. So that's what I would say. But it's real. It's no joke. Mm-hmm. And basically, they're saying, and I agree with them, if something's not done by this weekend, mm-hmm. if there's not a solution by Monday, just let the contagion go. If they don't have an answer by people should just listen to that podcast. I would say that, and it's correct. It's on point.
Now watch this. So I clicked on that email. Silicon Valley Bank worse than you thought, and it's just you. It's nothing. There's no link in there. It says it's you talking. So you summarize. I mean, you just saying you tell me what's going on, but there's nothing in there. So email me back and put the link in there so I can pull it on the screen.
Oh, there's no link in there.
There's no link in there. Nope. So I see the subtitle, but there's no link. So I tried to put it in YouTube, but nothing came up. But no, just shoot me the link. I'll put it up, and then I'll pass it on as always.
Yeah, but yeah, basically what the guys are telling me that and it's all law enforcement guys that work the executive protection stuff.
Yeah,
all of them are pretty much being put on standby for layoffs and all of this type of stuff. It's a bloodbath that's going on down there right now, and it's bad.
Yeah,
it's bad.
Well, hey, send me that link. Let me get a couple more calls, but send me that link, and I definitely I'll check it out. Appreciate you, man.
Will do.
All right, be good. Good stuff here. Let me get some more calls here. Hello, caller. Where are we calling from?
Hi, this is Lisa Davis, Litecoin Lisa.
Litecoin Lisa, how you doing?
Popping in. Great. I don't know. I muted the thing. I don't know if I'm live or.
Yeah, I got you. I got you on here.
Okay. Well, cool. So I just wanted everybody to make sure they check out. Reggie's been talking about this for quite a while. He did through his people with Boom Bus blog, and MakerDAO is the next, as far as in the crypto world. MakerDAO is now scrambling to introduce a plethora of emergency measures to plug the hole that they created, concentrating on exposure to centralized USDC. So this is the contagion, and it's not. So what I think is that cryptocurrency, because of the truth protocol in cryptocurrency, because of the transparency, it will expose the criminality of the financial system, of our legacy financial system.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to wake people up. And then hopefully they will not choose the CBDC.
Right. Well, and I think I don't think it's more so going to be about choosing the CBDC. I think there'll be so much desperation and discomfort out here to where people will opt in willingly. And a good example of why I think it's not impossible for that to happen that way is because if we just look at this health scare that was thrown over the world, how people compromised, and for the sake of whether they family, friends,
but it was a choice.
Right. But they did have a choice. They did have a choice, 100%. And people who were awake and aware as to what was really going on, they chose accordingly. But the people who are caught with their blinders on, which is having to be the majority, I think, they'll be the ones be like, hey, I need something to feed my kids, so I'll take it. You see what I'm saying? But I hope it fails. I'm not sitting up here rooting for it, but I just think that the majority of people will probably fall into it just because the pain will be there, unfortunately. So, but yeah, I hope it does fail.
Well,
so
pain is what it takes to wake people up.
Yeah.
And that's what, we have to get uncomfortable so that we can educate ourselves. Like, it's difficult to take personal responsibility for ourselves and our actions, but that's what we have to do to be free.
Right.
And like, if we go back and learn our true history and what happened, and how money has really just enslaved all of us over time, and the lies that they've written, whether it was through the IRS or otherwise. I want to get your channel banned. But anyway, I think this is the truth coming out, and that's where people are like, oh, all this horrible stuff, and I'm like, no, this is the horrible stuff that's always been hidden in the background. This is the behind the scenes deals. We're watching somebody else got picked up for insider trading or charged with that today, and that is just the first of another domino that's about to fall.
Yeah. So the dominoes are clearly falling, and we'll see where they lead us to. But definitely, it's going to be very eye-opening and uncomfortable. No matter how much gold, silver you got, or whatever Bitcoin or whatever you got, it's going to be uncomfortable in general because the world around you is changing. They're changing the monetary paradigm in general. So that's going to take some getting used to. But it's good to be ahead of the game than behind, and being aware of what's going on rather than being oblivious to it. So appreciate you for calling.
Right. This is about preserving our assets, protecting our families, and getting through this to the other side. It isn't,
Right.
So I thank you so much. You gave great information today, and I'm excited to share this
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for bringing Reggie to the forefront. Appreciate you and the work you do as well. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Good stuff there. Okay, so I had a lot of thoughts there. Okay, so real quick. So I see a lot of people not a lot of people, a couple people, because I mentioned ISO 20022. So let me go back to that real quick because I shared some thoughts on that. And so, I just, I'm a skeptic. I've done a lot of videos just expressing my skepticism and this digital transition, how timely it is. And at the same time that the world was already shifting, they wanted to shift it this way. So my point is, the ISO 20022, every coin, XO, Stellar, XDC, XRP, how many ever, give them bring Quant, all those companies, they're companies. They created a software that they strategically are in bed with the enemy companies. All of those companies, they are centrally controlled coins and ledgers, networks, whatever you want to call them. And the retail investor, which happen to be the people who are thinking that at the end of this transition, XRP is going to take them to the moon. That's where I'm like, if XRP is in bed with WEF and WEF said you ain't going to own nothing, be happy with it, like that'll go against Carl Schwab and his agenda. So who do you think the XRP people are going to be more loyal to? Helping accomplish the WEF agenda, or making sure that the retail investor who bought a couple, $1,000 a couple years ago and been sitting on it are going to come out as millionaires on the end of this? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where it's like, come on. It's hard for me to relay that, just if you just open up and think about, like, they want us to go towards a totally digital world where they can track, trace, and see everything. And anything that is in bed with the enemy is something that should be of concern. And then another reason I mentioned this is because I shared something on Twitter. Was it yesterday, day before yesterday? But it was about the breach with Hedera. And Hedera may or may not be officially on the ISO 2002 protocol, but it says, in an abundance of caution and safety for users, Hedera is turning off the network proxies on mainnet, making it inaccessible. Hedera Core is working through the smart contract irregularities and will re-enable proxies once off. So the fact that Hedera, which is a very extremely sophisticated project, is probably one of the top out there as far as being for what it's able to do. It's nothing else out there like the Hedera. And so if they're able to turn off the network, making it inaccessible, I'm thinking like, well, that just goes to show how centrally controlled it is. And all the Hedera or Hashgraph coin holders literally couldn't access the network to do any transactions. I'm thinking like, wouldn't it just be mighty convenient that after all this banking debacle blows through, all the casualties have been taken, banks are no longer issuing paper, or you can't use your bank the way you used to. The CBDC has been given to the world as solutions. And as I mentioned beforehand, they already got the Swift cross-border payment going live next week and a half. That this infrastructure, all this digital technology, the primary reason for it is for this transition. I just find it hard to believe that there is absolute freedom on the end of this, because our money problem is just a symptom of what's our greatest problem is. Our greatest problem is the governance crises we're having. Central banks and governments are completely corrupt. There will never be freedom in a world where the same people who cause the problem still remain in power. And as of right now, unless people get up and get out and actually go do something and remove these corrupt people from positions of power, they're going to issue the same control in the next round. You know what I'm saying? So it's like just having this digital mindset that things are going to get better because of having some trackable, traceable stuff. It troubles me. But then again, I do hold some of them projects as a speculator just in case. So, it's a gamble I'm willing to take, but I'm not banking on it. And I'm ranting. But I wanted to get back to my point. What was my point there? Okay, so my point was my response to this. And so I said, let me move myself out of the way. after I saw this, I'm like, okay, that just sounds like, it'd be mighty convenient that Hedera and all those other projects, because they all have the same control. They all got a kill switch. It says, be prepared for a backdoor kill switch to be activated, trapping all retail speculators' coins on the ISO 2002 networks. It says, and limiting participation to the WEF verified and accredited players when governments, with the assistance of private blockchain companies, stop playing like digital assets disrupt the monetary system. And so a reason I highlight that, stop playing. As of right now, governments, literally, like they're incompetent. So it's not them, but they are the ones who issue them, and the central banks are the ones that issue the currency to be able to fund all this, so that they can then use the technology for themselves. And they're going to cut off all back doors leading to this digital transition, in my opinion. So yeah, like governments don't like competition, and that's why it's going to be very hard for proof of work to remain a viable solution to secure the Bitcoin network in the future. After all this stuff plans out, it's my suspicion that world governments are going to come together, and they're going to agree upon the fact that any large mining facilities will be shut down. And then once you get majority of the miners offline, that right there will probably hinder the security of the network, making it easier for the government's own quantum computers to come in and just wreak havoc. That's just me thinking out in the future of what could be, just because I think it's more than probable. But that's just me ranting. But let me know your thoughts. I could be 100% wrong, but never say never in a world where money is the symptom of the underlying problem, which is our corrupt government, monetary authorities that's still in control. It says, have you heard Mexico joining the BRICS? I saw some a video about that, but when I Googled it, nothing came up. So I wouldn't doubt if Mexico is actually in talks along with all the other countries to join the BRICS. But as far as it making it official in this next upcoming summit in August, I don't think it's happening. That's just my thing. But let me know. I could be wrong. If you have some articles out there to prove me wrong, let me know. Anyway, I'm ranting too much. Give me a call. Let me know where I'm wrong. I could be 100% wrong. But then again, everybody, I think, should be open to the idea that the digital asset revolution has been a distraction. Never say never in a world where corruption and criminality is rewarded. Because if you know the right people, if you in the right boys and girls clubs, you get your back scratched, you scratch some backs, you end up being on the winning side of all this stuff so far. And it's my personal opinion, it's not until people get fed up and tired of all these shenanigans and actually take action in reference to taking these corrupt, this entire governance model is doomed to fail anyway. But it's just, yeah, until people get in the streets and the actual government is scared of the citizenry, then I wouldn't hold my breath thinking that your bag's gonna get pumped the next bull run, because they control the liquidity into the markets, and right now liquidity is kind of shy right now, and so there's going to be a major drawdown in all assets. But then again, never look at the fiat price of something that you can hold in your hand, because when it's time to eat and you got to take something that's a constitutional in nature down to your local farmer, he might know what this is, but he may not know, what a digital blip on a screen is, or want to accept it. But if it sounds like this, he may want to work with you. You know what I'm saying? He may want to put some food on your table. So as always, get your weight up first and foremost, and everything else you can speculate with. That's just my opinion. Oh, man, that was just a long rant. Forgive me. Okay, I'm missing calls, man. I apologize. But I had to get that thought off my chest. Hello, caller. Where you calling from?
Yeah, Mike, Steve, People Read 9 again.
Steve, give me something. What you got? You got the link?
Do you have it there?
I do got an email. Let me click on it. Yeah, let me.
Yeah. That's it. I mean, skip past the intro and just you can just get to the show itself. But basically, it's laying out if this isn't dealt with by Monday.
Okay. You talk about okay. You talk about the All In podcast.
Correct.
Okay, I'll watch that. Okay, good deal. All right, give it to me.
No, but that's the one and they laid it out perfectly. I mean, I've never listened to those guys before, but I can say that I know what's going on in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
And they're right on point. And if they don't do something to put a Band-Aid on it, do whatever by Monday or Tuesday, and they let this thing go on, it's a wrap because they go into detail.
Yeah.
About like I said, the payment companies that are connected to this bank. Some of the CEOs of some of those minor companies. Well, not minor. I don't mean mining companies or anything, but let's say the big boys in Silicon Valley. We know who those are.
Yeah.
A level down from them. I'll put it that way. It's going to be a disaster, man.
Right.
And they lay it out very well. So that's what I would say is for people to listen to that, take it in, and just go from there. But yeah, it's bad intentions all the way around.
Yeah.
And I agree with you that to me all of this stuff is planned, it's satanic in nature, and they know what they're doing. These people know what they're doing, and
now we just gotta wait and see how it plays out. You know what I'm saying? Stay prayed up, get your weight up, and everything in between, man.
Pretty much we just gotta rely on Jesus and his safety net. That's the only safety net out there, period, in the world, and I'll just leave it there.
Hey, appreciate you again. No, but I got that, and I intended to listen to it, but I forgot about it. So if it's that good, I'm gonna go check it out because I do check those guys out because they are venture capitalists. They are venture capitalists, so they're the ones that's looking for deals in Silicon Valley. So I know they got firsthand insight. So yeah.
The dots are connected. That's going to just if the government doesn't handle this in a good way, I guess, on Monday or by Monday, I mean the stuff's going to spread like wildfire.
Yeah, good stuff.
But they lay it out in a better way than I can.
All right, so that's so for those because somebody asked, well, who is that? So that's that All In podcast, and it's 4 gentlemen that are heavy hitters in the investment realm, and they talk a lot about Silicon Valley during their podcast, so they know a couple of things. But hey, man, appreciate you calling. So calling back and giving us that.
Hey, so I've never even heard of the guys before until today. Are they?
Yeah, one of them. I think it's Shamut. He's a billionaire who was a part of the founding of Facebook, and he's the heaviest hitter out of all of them. And he talks about all his investments and everything like that, good and bad and ugly. And the other guys are kind of smaller fry guys, but also big heavy hitters. And so all they do is just buy companies, sell companies, buy companies, and invest in stuff that the average person can't get a hold of just because they're heavy hitter accredited investors. So they just talk about making money. That's it. So it's a pretty good podcast.
They were dead on point on what they were saying. That's what I would say. And you can have a lot of athletes, entertainers.
Yeah.
People from
Hollywood. So Hollywood. Any big 9+ figure Hollywood actors, they probably got their money in SVB. So
there was one guy. I'm not sure if it was from InStock or wherever he was from, but anyway, there was one guy on video sitting there saying that we got about $10 million in this bank. Then 250, that's not gonna do nothing.
Right, and so because as I mentioned before, 97% of the depositors are above the $250,000 FDIC. So they are all heavy hitters above that. More like, more higher net worth individuals. So, 3% of the people got under. So those people, they get their money, no problem. They can go to ATM and withdraw on Monday. You know what I'm saying? It's just the people who are above, they can't go into the bank on Monday. You know what I'm saying?
And what do they say? Always hit them up on Friday. Hit 'em
Yeah.
up on a Friday.
Yeah. So we'll find out what between now and next Friday is going to be the real fireworks. But appreciate you, man.
Monday to see what happens.
Yeah,
especially after listening to their podcast.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out, man. Hey, appreciate you, man. Get some more calls in here, though. Hello, Carlos. Where we call it from?
Hey, Mike, it's low blood pressure. Corpus Christi, how's it going?
LBP, doing good, my friend. What's on your mind?
Hey, man, that Steve getting a lot of airtime, Mike. You have to pay him.
But Steve be dropping nuggets. Steve dropped nuggets. Like he's a reporter on the streets. He be sending me articles all the time, so he keep me up on my toes. So I appreciate that, man. What's up with you, man?
I'm telling you, you gotta send us some silver. Hey, look, Mike, I've been praying and praying and praying. It finally happened, Mike. It's the end, Mike. That's it.
I think as I mentioned, as I say here, like right here, over here, I said that the fuse has been lit, but we ain't seen nothing yet, my friend. We ain't seen nothing. But it's gonna be interesting.
It's like when you were a kid, remember those black cats? You don't know if the wig's gonna pop right away or if it's gonna take its time.
Yeah.
I don't know, Mike. I just loaded up a credit card last week, Mike. I got 8 kilos.
You and the credit cards, man. You do your thug thizzle, man.
I'm telling you, look, Mike. When your payroll check don't come through your bank, you're gonna pay the credit card. You're gonna say, "How am I gonna pay you when you don't let me get my money out to pay you?"
Yeah. That mean more than likely a good chunk of that is going to be discharged. But then again, also your savings and checkings is going to be, have some problems with that as well. So and not having any having any CDs and any of those tools and products they trying to get people into, gonna have problems with those as well. So your credit card debt may be discharged, but then your checking and savings is going to be confiscated or bailed in. So it's like,
Mike, I got like $37 in there. They can keep that.
Oh man, so no.
I can sit there with my monster boxes rolling around in silver, and jokes on them, Mike.
Hey, you got your lead?
Yeah.
All right. Make sure you got more than. But see, watch this. You got a passport, but you're gonna need an armory truck with all those monster boxes and some lead to cross the border. And when you get to the border, you know who's gonna be waiting on you, right? Uncle Sam and the drug cartels.
Mike, the federales, man. I just give them a couple kilos. I'll be all right.
Now, what's gonna happen is they're gonna give you a couple kilos and they're gonna take your armored truck.
Hey, value for value.
I'm just messing with you, man. But no. Oh man, but hey, appreciate you calling, man.
All right, Mike.
Yeah, man. You gonna go down to the border trying to escape. They're gonna take your truck with all your monster boxes and give you a 20 stack. Lyle, appreciate you, man. Thank you for being a blessing. All right, well, we're an hour, man. I appreciate everybody for blessing me with your presence and time and try to get as much done as I could as far as getting calls in. But I had a lot of things to get off my chest in reference to how everything, seems to be right on point for what and where they're taking this. And so, but just be on the lookout, because if the banking contagion goes into this week, like we're suspecting, when the CBDC SWIFT system is clicked on the 20th, it's going to be crickets, because they don't want us to keep our eyes on that, because that's for them. But then again, the banks impact us now because that's where people's funds are at. And so you see how the diversion tactics, like CBDC get cut on over here, but everybody focus on the banks over here. So it's like, what do you do in the meantime? Stay prayed up, get your weight up, take out, and this is just my personal opinion, take out what you don't want to lose within the banking system. If you minimize your exposure to all those products that they've sold the world, you'll have less to lose when the legacy system is transitioned. Then you'll have enough in your possession or in places strategically where you can relocate if you need to be able to use for the rebuilding of this monetary paradigm shift that's underway. So never have all your baskets or all your eggs in one basket, because you never know when you might have to pivot and move. and be led by the Holy Spirit, because, you know, he knows what's coming and what's already happening. So it's no surprises there. But all right, my good people, be blessed, be safe. I'm glad I connected with you guys. If you enjoyed this today, hit that thumbs up, and I'll try to get involved more on the weekends as well. So, like on Lisa, appreciate you and all the other people out there. I see Comero, Jay, Rolf, Carlos, appreciate you, man. Sam, TB, Eddie, appreciate you guys for joining me, man. And yeah, see you guys. I'll probably come back tomorrow.